And she, in whose house he was, seduced him towards herself, and bolted the doors, and said, "Come on." He said, "I seek refuge with Allah. Surely He, your husband, is my master, and He has given me a good lodging. Indeed, the wrongdoers do not prosper." So we just talked about ihsan. We just talked about ihsan. And ihsan is worshiping Allah as if we see Him. And even if we don't see Him, knowing the fact that He sees you. Which leads us to this ayah, that once Yusuf alayhi salam has now matured and become very handsome man, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he talked about this in a hadith where he says, when I met Yusuf alayhi salam, I saw that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed him with half the beauty of the whole world. While the other half has been spread over the rest of it, in a hadith Sahih Muslim. So he wasn't just any guy. He was one of, if not the most handsome man, right? There's only one that outbeats his beauty, which was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But subhanallah, when you look at who he was, a very respectful, honorable, handsome man, and she felt inclined to him. The wife of Al-Aziz now felt inclined to him. Now, and as expected, the wife of Al-Aziz was filled with lust for Yusuf alayhi salam. It got to the point where she couldn't actually control herself, nor could she stop herself from feeling so strongly towards him, because he was so beautiful. So beautiful. And she just desired him. And so when that lust over kind of come her, she wanted him regardless. She didn't care. So she prepared herself for him, and she planned, and she made it where that they can be set by themselves, and she would entrap him and lock all the doors that came into that aspect. Now, we don't want to understand that with the Arabic, it's to lock, but not to lock very tightly. It's with an absolute certainty that she wanted this, and she wanted to actually act on this. Now, from this, we can understand that the wife of Al-Aziz closed not only the door of the room she was going to be in with Yusuf alayhi salam, but all the doors in the house and any other doors leading to those doors, so nothing would interrupt her when she wanted to do what she wanted to do. So it came with plan, it came with purpose, it came with desire. And then she called for Yusuf alayhi salam to come to her. Now you can look at how Yusuf alayhi salam is put in this position. She is not his mom, nor she is his friend. She is the wife of his owner, right? His master, technically. And he is usually in a vulnerable situation to what? Obey, right? Be submissive and obey. Now, what does Yusuf alayhi salam do? He refuses. And he said that he could not do this to his master. Now, there's two interpretations of this we'll come to. But some scholars say that Yusuf alayhi salam was reminding himself and her that Al-Aziz has been very kind to me all this time. Your spouse, my master, the one who purchased me and the one who entrusted me in this home, has been good to me, taking care of me. How dare I betray him? Right? He looked at it in this concept. And then he said, and he didn't want to harm him in any way. So Yusuf a.s. did not intend to do anything to harm Al-Aziz as being his master. And another opinion said by the scholars is that the Prophet Yusuf a.s. here is referring to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, his Lord and his master, who took care of him all the way up until this point, and he would not commit such a great sin. So this second opinion is stronger, since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned in the next ayah. And I think I have time to go through the second ayah as well. So I'm going to go through 24 as well. So she certainly desired him, and he might have desired her, had he not seen the proof from his Lord. Thus we did to turn evil and lewdness away from him. Surely he was one of our chosen servants. SubhanAllah, what proof is this ayah referring to? What proof is this ayah referring to? Some scholars say that he saw the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, while others say he saw an image of his father, Yaqub alayhi salam. And the stronger opinion states that the proof was him realizing or Allah reminding him of his position and his status as a prophet and as a messenger. So whether he was inclined to her or for sure she's inclined to him, but she was also a beautiful woman that easily a man would be inclined to her, right? But his consciousness of God, his ihsan, his fear and hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala woke him up into reality and not to commit such a grave sin, right? Now in this, you see the ayah is showing the proof, whether it was angel Jibreel alayhi salam or the reminder of Yaqub alayhi salam or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving him that realization and reminding him of the position and the status that he has yet to come as a prophet and a messenger of God. Just the knowledge of that kept Yusuf alayhi salam away. And even though he felt inclined to it and she opened that opportunity and welcomed it, he was going to refuse to act on this. Okay? Now I want to share a hadith that this is subhanAllah where the name of shaded came from. It was reported by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, who narrated that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, there's 7 types of people that will be shaded under the day of shaded under Allah's shade on the day of judgment in the hereafter. And these are the 7 type of categories that we want to learn today, because we want to be under that shade. This is a day where we're going to beg for that shade, and everyone will be exposed to the sun except these shaded categories of people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us among them. So one of them is a just ruler. And that is a difficult position. A just ruler is a person who does not rule by interest or by personal gain. They choose to stand with the good and forbid the evil, and that's not always an easy claim, right? But a just ruler is one of those that will be under this shade. The next is a young man who has been brought up in the worship of Allah. So they worship Allah alone sincerely from their childhood. Some people, they're blessed even when they're young. They love the masajid, they come and they worship and they volunteer and they love it. They're not forced to do it. They're encouraged in the beginning, but then it just takes them by storm. They love to do it, they're honored to do it, and they become faithful and implementing their faith from a very young age. Then a man whose heart is attached to the masjid, and this is for men and women, who are attached to the masajid, who offer their 5 congregational prayers in the masjid. There's a difference between people that come to the masjid once in a while, and there's people that are inclined to the masjid. They love the masjid, they honor the masjid, they support the masjid, they're a participant in all of its activities. They invest their time in it and their wealth in it, and they bring their families there. The masjid becomes their focal point. They're completely attached to the masajid. And for here, when you talk about men and fulfilling their compulsory, the obligatory prayers in the masjid, it's true. It is like a wajib for a man that lives close by a masjid to try their best to fulfill their prayers in the masjid. Even the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, they used to perform the fard salah, and they would perform the sunan at home. So they would encourage the salah both in the masajid and at home, right? But if there is somebody that lives near a masjid, as a man, he should be of those that are conscious that I'm going to get up early and pray fajr in the masjid. If my time permits, I'm going to pray dhuhr in the masjid. If I can't do it because of my work, any prayer that I can pray in the masjid, I'm going to pray it, whether it's maghrib or isha or whatnot. There's many men that are attached to the masajid that they start their day and they end their day with the masjid. And the only thing that keeps them away from it is their obligations of work. right? So your heart is inclined to it. Then he says, two persons who love each other only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means they meet and they part in Allah's cause alone. There's no benefit to each other. They don't want anything from each other. They don't need anything from each other. They're not doing it to meet for something and then they just say, we're good friends because of it. No. There's no interest other than being good to each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they meet and they part with this. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to love each other in this way. And one of them is a man who refuses the call of a charming woman of noble birth for an illegal sexual intercourse with her and says, I fear Allah. Now this is, if you look at all of the ones I mentioned, and I still have a couple to mention, this one is only one incident. It's not a recurring, like to love somebody for the sake of Allah, it's recurring. You have to keep proving that. To love the masajid, you have to keep proving that by coming and going. To be a just ruler, you have to keep acting in a certain way, right? But when it comes to this act, because Allah created man and He knows man's desire and He knows how man works. And if He were to refuse somebody that even that person is welcoming them for this, out of fear of Allah, Allah will honor that person. Allah will honor that person. Subhanallah. And this is something of what Yusuf alayhi salam had encountered. And to continue with the hadith is, and by the way, it's not because they don't, the most important thing that you have to understand with this, it's not because they can't perform or they're not interested in this person or somebody's watching them, there's accountability. This is where they can have it, nobody knows it, it's welcomed. The only thing that stops them, not because of anything, they're inclined even to the person, the only thing that stops them is their consciousness of Allah. That's the only thing. Continuing with the hadith is a person who practices charity so secretively that their left hand does not know what their right hand gives. So nobody knows how much they are given, even though we're taught that private giving is important, public giving is important, but whatever you do publicly, make sure you do privately so you can make sure you're sincere in that claim. And then he says, a person who remembers Allah in seclusion and their eyes get flooded with tears. They get emotional when they're remembering Allah, reciting the Quran or making dhikr or even just reflecting on this world. And they have the emotional connection that it causes them to cry and to weep over it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala truly honor us and make us of the seven in the shade of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I'll conclude with this, that all of the actions mentioned are continuous actions except the one underlined above, which describes only one instance, one scenario where a decision must be quickly made so that in comparison to the other actions are seemingly insignificant. Yet this is how much the reward one gets from abstaining. So don't ever put yourself in that situation, but if you do, know that Allah is watching and refrain for just that reason. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching and He does not want you to do that. And it makes them equal to those who do those other actions throughout their whole lives. And Yusuf alayhi salam exemplifies this deed, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps him control his desires and overcome this challenge. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us and to protect us and to bless us and to bless our families. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to honor us with knowledge and wisdom as He's honored Yusuf alayhi salam and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and all those before us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase us in knowledge and make us of those that are wise. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we just learned the categories of the seven shaded under His shade on the Day of Judgment, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to honor us and shade us on the Day of Judgment, and to shade our loved ones, and to make us of those that He's pleased with, and of those He forgives and He loves and He protects and He provides, and He always grants us a pathway of goodness and He protects us from a pathway of harm. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in.